God is a God who brings peace and breaks the weapons of war. The thing about the psalmist's invitation, it simply says, come and see what the Lord has done. But every invitation, hear this, every invitation to witness God's handiwork is also an invitation to bear witness to that work and to live in light of that work, to join God in that work as a testimony to God's work. Even as the starting point is God, the initiator is God, and that too has sustaining merit. The psalmist and the Lord are inviting us to the work of peacemaking and the work of weapon breaking. And once engaged in that work, to shed ourselves of the weight that says the work is about us and our effort. I want to say that I've witnessed the Lord's doing the work of peacemaking, and I've witnessed it happening in our midst. As I've marched with you and prayed with you and protested alongside you, I've seen it as you've given sacrificially to support the Minor Mutual Aid Network, as you've served young mothers through Young Lives Ministry and supported families in DC 127. I've heard echoes of God's peacemaking as many of you have continued the hard work of weaving community in your neighborhoods through block parties like what happened recently in the Rosedale neighborhood and through front porch conversations that you've had. And we must continue to engage in this work of weapon breaking, working as unto the Lord's to lay to desolation the weapons of war that are brought down on the necks of our neighbors. Many of these weapons are subtle, yet serpentine, as they are embedded in economic policies and housing policies, education policies, immigration policies, and policing policies that stifle flourishing, oppressed people, and are antithetical to the kingdom of God. This work can be, and is often exhausting, and it can be humiliating. And there are days where it can feel futile. But what the psalmist says, and what can sustain us in the work, is the reminder that God is at hand, that God is present in the work, that God is the one who initiated the work, that He's the one who will sustain the work, and He's the one who ultimately lays waste to the unjust systems and structures that have their origins in the kingdom of Satan. Friends, though the road is long and the work is hard, the late great civil rights leader and statesman John Lewis was right when he wrote in his recent New York Times editorial published upon his passing last week, when he wrote, "Humanity has been involved in this soul-wrenching existential struggle for a very long time. And we're wise to hear his counsel to us to let the spirit of peace and the power of everlasting love be your guide." Brueggemann again would say it this way, as Christians, our lives always move between the pit of the enemy and the sheltering wings of God, between the shattering of disorientation and the gift of life. This is why our baptism is such a disruptive and subversive liturgy. It shouts to the enemy and reminds us that life has the first and the final word over death. And there is nothing that will sustain us so certainly in the fight of faith and the work of justice as God's anchoring presence in us and our consistent abiding in Him. For that is a well that will never run dry. As we round out this morning, the thing I want to do is extend that same invitation to you that the psalmist extends to us. The invitation to join God in His peacemaking, in His weapon breaking, to join Him in His work of renewal and redemption. If you've been on the fence or not sure what to do or how or with whom, let today be the day of decision or a recommitment to the work that is at hand. I know some of you have been about it for a long time. As it's said in boxing circles, you ain't new to this, you true to this. You've been working hard, maybe too hard at times. And weariness has set in, or cynicism. The invitation to you from Psalm 46 is to be still, to abide with the Lord, to remember that the work is on Him and He's got this. The Spirit wants to refresh your soul, to meet you where you are and let you know that you are seen, that you are loved, and to remind you that the Lord Almighty is with you. God of heaven is your fortress.